It's more important than ever that we follow our joy. It's more important than ever that we follow our heart. And so today's topic is all about literally becoming obsessed with your joy, becoming obsessed with, cultivating and nourishing your creative desires, your creative aspirations. Peace and love, beautiful beings. My name is Layla Wind, chosen goddess. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to my channel, Let Go My Ego, where we talk about all topics that have to do with letting go of the ego and letting our heart and our soul lead the way. I am so excited for today's topic because in today's world that is so dense in negativity, so dense in fear, so dense in trauma, the duality is really heightened at this time. Like, we're seeing so much separation, we're seeing so much division, we're seeing so much nonsense. It's more important than ever that we follow our joy. It's more important than ever that we follow our heart. And so today's topic is all about literally becoming obsessed with your joy, becoming obsessed with, cultivating and nourishing your creative desires, your creative aspirations. That is what today's topic is all about. So it's really inner child healing, right? And I feel like in this day and time, humanity is being called more than ever to heal the inner child. Like, it is imperative at this point if we want to be sane in a saneless world, if we want to be sane in literally a world that feels like we're in a mental asylum, right? There's always something that is trying to keep us in a space of suffering. And so we have to garnish and garner all of our willpower, all of our strength in order to really focus and tune in into our joy, because there are so many different entities and energies pulling us in so many different directions to keep us distracted from self, to keep us distracted from the things that bring us pleasure and happiness from a soul level, from a heart level, right? Not, again, things that escape your reality, right? Like drugs or excessive partying or anything like that. I'm talking about things that really nourish the soul and that make you feel good, mind, body, spirit, and emotion. So that's what we're talking about today. So I have 9 tips, and this will be a quick video. I'm not going to take up too much of your time because I just want to get straight to the point. 9 tips on how to follow your joy, prioritize your joy in such a dense reality, a dense world. That is what is going to help liberate us, right? That is what's going to help close out the endings of, trauma, drama, suffering, self-hatred, self-loathing, all of these different things, right? That keep us in a fear-based vibration, a fear-based mindset. So yeah, let's get into it. So when we're talking about the ego is addicted to suffering when it's wounded, right? So when we're addicted to suffering, we're living in fears. And mind you, I have my notes, right? Because it's a lot to cover and I want to make sure I cover all bases. But, when we live in fear, we're focusing on drama. We're focusing on our trauma. We feel like there's no way out. And we're also thinking about all the things that can go wrong. And I'm sure all of us, to some degree, have been in that downward spiral of just being so negative, pessimistic, and not really being optimistic and not really hoping, and also recognizing that, hey, I can shift my inner reality. A lot of us don't even know that we can do that, right? A lot of us don't even know that we do have the ability to shift our inner reality. So when we're looking at the ego is addicted to suffering when it's wounded. So of course, how can we nurture and nourish our inner child? So important to recognize in our egos when we're actually focused on negativity or we're focused on drama, when the priority should always be what is going to bring my soul and my heart and my just whole beingness the most joy, the most happiness, how am I going to feel so fulfilled? So that's so, so important. And so your inner child, rather than your wounded ego, your real inner child who is crying out for healing, crying out for attention, your inner child wants to feel safe. Your inner child wants to feel loved. Your inner child wants to feel nurtured and nourished. And your inner child wants to live life on its own terms from the heart, right? That is what all of our inner children want to do, right? All of us are going to be different, the way we express ourselves, the things that we're called to do. But what I will say, and I know this to be true all across the board, it has to be from love. It has to be from love. That is the natural state of the human being. That is the natural state of the child. And if we know anything about children, that's why they say they're the closest thing to God, right? And if we want to be the closest thing to the divine, we have to be the closest thing to love. So yes, that is what your inner child wants. So instead of tuning into what the wounded ego wants, and this takes a lot of self-awareness and a lot of willpower to shift out of that and say, you know what? Instead of me focusing on the news today and gossip and thinking about all the things that are going wrong in my life, let me think about all the things that I can do to start shifting the course, to start, shifting the sails, if you will, of our boat. You know what I'm saying? I'm using metaphors here or analogies that, how can I shift the winds, so to speak, to go into the direction of my highest destiny, of my oversoul. So yes, it's really, really important that we are aware that when we are not nourishing that inner child, we are typically in our wounded ego. So that's what I first want to say to be aware of, is to look at where you're addicted to suffering. Humanity is addicted to suffering. So the second thing, or I should say really the first tip, now that we got, kind of like the synopsis out the way, is to tune into your inner child in meditation. So you want to do that every day. Tune into your inner child through meditation, or at least a few times out the week. If you can't do it every day, and I don't want to say can't, you can do whatever you want, but if you're choosing not to do it every day, tune into your inner child through meditation, and just maybe put your hand on your heart and envision yourself as a little girl or a little boy and ask, what do you need? What do you want? Where have I been neglecting you? Where have I not given you the attention that you deserve? What are you wanting to express? What are your real desires? Not what the desires are of society or our family members or people who we look up to or we admire, where we may have adopted or taken on their mindset and their trajectory of life. What is our trajectory? What is our narrative from our hearts and our souls? So tune in, ask yourself, what do they want and what is going to bring them happiness? That is number one, is to tune in to your inner child. And you can do this simply, like I said, by closing your eyes in a meditative state, putting your hand on your heart, envisioning yourself as that sweet little girl or that sweet little boy, and finding out what exactly it is that is going to, just make their heart and their soul sing. That is so key, and it's so beautiful, and it may bring tears to your eyes, and it's such a simple practice. I'm a big believer in simplicity. Things don't have to be as complex as the ego, the wounded ego, can make it when we're trying to prove something or whatever. But yeah, just that simple practice of just tuning in through meditation. Ask your inner child, what does he or she want? That's number one. Number two, finding joy in the little things. This is such a great one, because a lot of us, when we're living our life and we're not really living our optimal life, when I say our optimal life, meaning, and in a way, this may be kind of an egoic statement, as I kind of when I say our optimal life, there's truth to it, right? We don't have the best career, or we're not just not our best selves, right? We don't have all of our desires and our dreams that came to fruition. It's not to fruition yet, and that's okay. That's part of the process. That's part of the journey. However, what we've learned to ignore and we've learned to kind of have a pity party with is the journey itself, right? The mundane, as some people will call it, the task before you get to that so-called end result. But even when you get to the end result of accomplishing something and succeeding, there's another level to climb, right? That's part of the human experience. That's part of just being alive and being a beautiful being of divinity. So find joy in the little things, the things that you consider mundane. So that may mean like doing the dishes, finding joy in, cleaning, wiping, if you have babies, cleaning your children or whatever. Finding joy in these so-called little things, finding joy in reading, finding joy in solitude, finding joy in researching, finding joy in the creative process. A lot of us, again, because when we're heavily in our ego, we quickly want to be at the end result, but we're failing to enjoy the process. And we're also failing to realize there is no failure, right? We're failing to realize that if something is not going our way or something is not manifesting, what that's showing us is that we need to pivot. We need to find another way of doing it. And sometimes that also means that we're just out of alignment for whatever reason, right? Sometimes it's not just pivoting. Sometimes we got to end it all together and start something new. So learning to enjoy the process by learning to love the mundane, what we think is mundane. Because when we shift our mind and we are able to get creative, right? And we're able to get playful. If we're able to get playful in the way that we experience life, then it becomes easier. It becomes funner. And we're raising our vibration by doing that. So key to learn to find joy in the mundane. So that's my second tip. The third one is start exploring your interests. Okay. A lot of us don't even know what we want to do, right? And that's part of the inner child work too, is like, what do I even want to do? What am I even interested in? What do I feel like my dharma is guiding me to? What do I feel like my soul's purpose is? And it's okay if you don't know, but I will tell you the telltale and tell all is typically in what you're interested in. And if that is not, again, conclusive of what your soul's purpose is, it usually is a stepping stone. It's like a guiding system. So start noticing what you're drawn to, what interests you, what are you curious about? Curiosity, right? That's a beautiful inner child trait, or a childlike trait is to be curious and to be in awe and to ask questions and to be in wonder. So start exploring where you've always been called to like dive into or to learn more about or to participate in, even if it's scary, right? And in baby steps. I want to say that baby steps, right? I'm not saying to go all in unless you're ready to go all in. You can take baby steps, because I know it can be a huge nervous system shock and reset to go again 0 from 100, to something that's totally different from the lifestyle and the way that you're used to doing things. But if you actually explore your interest and again, you start kind of delving and taking baby steps, like kind of like getting your feet wet, so to speak, it will start building that momentum, and you will start also calling back your natural innate joy. You will start calling back your peace. You will start calling back your excitement and fervor and passion for life. So it's so important to explore your interests. So that is my third one. My fourth one is give your inner child daily attention. Daily. And it's so important because, like I said, in these days and times where it seems like life is so serious, and in a sense it is serious, but the interesting thing is that because it's so serious is the reason why we have to get more into our hearts, is the reason why we have to lighten our load, so to speak. Because life is so serious, the inner child it's necessary. That's what's going to free you. That's what's going to, like I said in the beginning, keep you sane in a saneless world. So every single day, it's a daily essential to tune into the inner child. How can you tune into the inner child? We already talked about it through the meditation. Play also means being lighthearted. Be silly, be fun. Don't take everything so serious. Again, some things are serious, but we can still lighten that load, right? This is the thing. Some things are just what they are. It is what it is. And you have to do what you have to do anyway to get out of it, to alchemize it, to fix it, to find a solution. So instead of worrying so much and stressing so much, why not be lighthearted in the process to make it easier? Kind of a no-brainer. So play, be creative, rest. There's a reason why children love nap time. Human beings, adults also need nap time. We need to rest. Even if it's not necessarily a nap, we need time to rest and relax and to integrate and to sit. So, and just like also acknowledge your deepest desires through that meditation or journaling or whatever it is that's going to take for you to really go deep into what your inner child is calling for you to experience and to see and to witness and to cultivate. So very, very important that every single day you are cultivating and nourishing your inner child. The next one, the fifth one, imagine every day if you can. And I don't want to say if you can, if you want to, because you definitely can. Take 5 minutes, just 5 minutes or more. It's better if you do more, but start off with 5 minutes. Everybody can take 5 minutes out of their day to imagine their highest desired dream reality that is in accordance to what their heart and their soul wants to experience. What do you want to experience? And I will say this too, let go of any shame with what you want to experience. Let go of any limitations. Let go. That's the beauty of like a child who hasn't been tainted by the ways and the fears of this world, is that their imagination, nothing's off limits. They can imagine the most miraculous life and nothing can stop them and tell them that that's not real, because it's very real for them. So allow yourself to tap into the impossible. Allow yourself to tap into the infinite realities, the infinite realms. Allow yourself to tap into fantasy, what you think is fantasy, because again, on a higher timeline, that could be absolutely real. And what I will say is make sure it's also in alignment, like tune in, like, is this really what my heart and soul is calling me to experience? And just allow your imagination to run wild. It is such a fun practice. And you're also tuning into the feeling. You're tuning into the feeling of that reality. So that is so key. Imagining at least 5 minutes a day. You know what's funny? This may feel awkward and strange at first, but as you start getting used to it, you'll start to realize, wait a minute, 5 minutes is not long enough. I need 10 minutes, 20, because I'm trying to stay in this reality, okay? It's like that inner child in you is like, I don't want to leave this reality because it feels so good. And and you start to also feel like, wow, this is really a possibility for me. You really do start closing that gap of it being something that's far-fetched or something that's impossible or something that that you think you're not worthy of, subconsciously or unconsciously, or maybe even consciously. But you start to bridge that gap, so to speak. The more that you do this, you start to realize, like, wait a minute, this can be very real. It starts to feel right in your heart and soul. And then you also start to realize, like, this is maybe what I'm meant to be here to create. So really tune in to yourself in every single day in some form of visualization, imaginative practice that's specific to your inner child and their desires. Game changer, and it makes you feel so, so good. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to feel good, right? We're here to, really collapse and to diminish and to dissolve all suffering. So really, really amazing practice. So definitely tune into that. The sixth one is take heart-based action. This is key because it's one thing to tune into your inner child. It's one thing to get the guidance from your inner child. It's one thing to imagine the highest desired timeline for your inner child. But what are you going to do? We still are in a world where we have to take action. Your dreams and your imagination can only go so far. It is definitely an imperative part of the co-creative process in terms of like embodying that feeling. But once you start embodying it, how can you start making this very tangible in your reality? Basically making your reality come to life before your reality comes to life, so to speak. Because when you're actually taking that heart-based action every single day, according to your inner child's wants, needs, and desires, you are now bringing that higher timeline, that higher reality, you're bringing it into the now, because it becomes like a lifestyle. It becomes a way of life. It becomes your daily experience. So every day, take heart-based action as if you are already living your best life. And I want to emphasize this all the time, one step at a time. One of the biggest reasons why a lot of people don't take steps towards their dream reality is because it feels too big. It feels too great. It feels too much of, like, again, a gap, a distance. It feels impossible. But that's because we haven't learned to enjoy the mundane, right? That's because we haven't learned to enjoy the process. So enjoy the process no matter where you are in your life. And that's a big lesson for me, honestly, with healing my ego. I had to realize, like, I have to surrender to the process. Like, things are not always going to happen overnight. Some things can, but no matter what happens, I've had amazing things happen overnight for me. But then I've had a lot of things that take a long time. I've had a lot of things that some people in their ego may call failures, but I've also had a lot of success. Either way, it's all part of the process. All I need to do is surrender to it, tune in to what my inner child is telling me, my heart is telling me. Again, children are very heart-based, and take that heart-based action one step at a time. I'm telling you, if you just really immerse yourself into the one step at a time, you won't even care so much, to be honest, about the end goal, because you'll be, in a sense, like I said, living in your experience every single day. And as long as you're in your heart, you'll feel good about yourself. You know, as long as you are doing what you love, you'll feel good about yourself. As long as you're being true to you, you'll feel good about yourself, no matter what happens or what manifests or doesn't manifest, because you're here. It's a form of being present. So yes, every single day, take that heart-based action. Amazing. So the next one is to prioritize your inner child as a daily essential. So we already kind of talked about that, but I want to emphasize prioritizing it, because a lot of times we put other things before, and that's kind of how the matrix is set up. We put other things before self-care. We put other things before tending to our true soul's heart and needs. We put our jobs first, right? We put our families first. We put even things that don't matter first, like the news and drama and politics and whatever. We put Instagram first, Facebook, you know what I'm saying? That's what people do. They put things first. They put distractions first rather than tuning in to your inner child. Because again, like I said, your inner child is what's going to liberate you. Your inner child is what's going to grant you access to the golden age. Golden age meaning your life, your timeline of peace, love, happiness, connection to the divine, and abundance on all levels. That is what I know to be true in my heart for all of humanity. And one day we will get there. But in order for us all to get there, somebody has to get there first, right? Somebody has to lead the way. Somebody has to be the way shower. Somebody has to be the embodiment for that. So it's really, really important that every day you prioritize your inner child. Every single day. What's more important than your desires? What's more important than creating your dream reality? What's more important than being lighthearted and having fun? So yeah, I'm sure you all are starting to connect the dots why the inner child is so imperative in this day and time to focus on and to heal. Like, it is literally at the top. You know, it's one of the top things that we all should be doing is tuning into the inner child. So yeah, definitely tune in and prioritize it every day. Again, it's a daily essential. So the last one, as we close out this video, is to notice, even if the eighth one, if you're going through a hard time in life, that is when you really have to muster a lot of strength. And I would say this is the ultimate alchemy. This is the ultimate test of, like, your inner child healing, and just even your healing as an overall human being, an adult healing, all forms, multi-dimensional healing. Is if you're going through a rough time in life, the more you surrender to it and accept it, and when I say accept it, it doesn't mean that you're saying, like, this is okay and this is what I'm going to stay with. No, what I'm saying accepting is like, okay, it is what it is, but how can I alchemize this? How can I transcend this? Not from a place of even so much logic. It's more of a place of, like, shifting my energetic state, shifting my state of being, shifting how I feel, and what I can learn from this situation. Every single thing that's happened to me in my life, I no longer ever subscribe to any type of victimhood. I'm only focused on what can I learn? How can I grow? What is the beauty and the blessing in the ugly, in the turmoil, in things that literally can break so many of us when that ego is just running amok. So how can I really tune in and surrender to love? That is when you really need to really tune into the inner child. And what I will say is, finding your motivation again for life, finding your passion again for life. Again, how can I focus on joy? Because if it is what it is, if something horrible has happened to you or something bad is happening in your life, that is already happening. So again, what can we do to shift out of it through our inner state of being? And I'm not saying to spiritually bypass or to pretend it doesn't exist. I don't believe in that either. But what I am saying is that you have a choice, love or fear. Which one is it? Those are the only two main choices in life, is love or fear. And if I'm going to be in fear, then I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going through a horrible time. This is my life. I'm just a horrible person. My life is crap, etc., etc. Or you can say, you know what? This is effed up. This sucks. I absolutely hate it. And you can be honest and real. And it is what it is. What can I learn about it? How can I find the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak? And it's the funny part is when you find the light at the end of the tunnel, right? What does that mean? You're getting out. You're coming out into the light. And it's not just a metaphor. It is actually reality. It's very, very real. That's when the miracles happen, is when we can shift our focus back to being lighthearted and to, again, cultivate and nourish that inner child. I'm telling you, the inner child will get you out of so much because it is heart-based. It's heart-centered. The true inner child, when we start to pay attention to her or him, and we start to actually no longer neglect her or him, and we give them the love and the care and the nurturing they deserve, no matter what we're going through in life. Again, it's a daily essential. Then that is when the miracles happens. That's when we start to feel free. That's when we start to feel invincible, not from an egoic place that like it's an invincible, like, wow, God is on my side. I am a part, an integral part, an intricate part, an imperative part of this divine woven, reality that we're all creating and co-creating, whether again, consciously or unconsciously. So really tune into yourself and be honest with yourself. And yeah, the inner child is just going to liberate us all, I'm telling you. And it's been heavy on my heart to really emphasize the dire need in these days and times to really tune into your inner child and to cultivate her or him every single day, even in the smallest ways. And you will build that momentum, and it will come to a point where you're like, I'm obsessed with loving my inner child. My inner child is my true self, right? How could I have neglected her, And it's a program. We're taught to be distracted from that beautiful innocence, that beautiful purity of self, that beautiful, true, authentic expression of self. We're taught to be turn away from that. And it's time that we take our power back and we turn back to that beautiful, innocent, pure, authentic expression of the divine. So I hope today's episode was wonderful, quick and sweet, as quick as possible. I know it's a little lengthy, but quick for me, right? Because I am long-winded. Again, my name is Layla Wind, Chosen Goddess. Please like, share, and subscribe if you love this video. I thank all of you for being here. And I would like to know, how will you be moving forward with cultivating your inner child? Which one of these tips really resonated with you? Did they all resonate with you? Did I miss out on something? Let me know. And thank you again so much for being here. We're in this together, okay? We're not meant to do this alone. And I'm just so thankful you're here. All right. So I'm sending you all so much love. Thank you and namaste.